Welcome to Sad Boys, a podcast about feelings and other things also. I'm Jarvis. What if I did like an NPR version of, what would that sound like?
We would start with like,
We're in like
some
a studio.
tambourine, like little...
Welcome to Sad Boys, a podcast about feelings and other things also. I'm Jod Abramrod.
I'm Ira Glass 2.
Okay.
We've got me back. Now I'm more powerful.
Now you're more powerful. You're not made of glass.
Also, I've disappeared from the radio, I feel like.
Those in Ira Glass houses shouldn't throw...
alleged stories that aren't properly researched.
Ooh.
Oh,
Oh,
gosh.
snap.
Take that, NPR, from like 15 years ago. That one time you did that, I think.
Yeah,
So-
who even knows? Who's the guy who does the Daily?
Oh, Michael Barbaro.
I'm Michael Barbaro.
And his was he just...
I used to love Nina
Here's the things you need to know
Totenberg.
today.
I-
Nina
She
Totenberg,
always
yeah.
did the Supreme Court.
This is really mean. And I'm one to say this because I sound weird also. But
Mhm.
every time Michael Barbaro
Michael Barbaro.
does his little thing, where he says,
Here's the things you need to know
You
today.
need to know.
Here's the thing you need to
I'm
know.
like, Michael, relax.
I
Just
think-
do it.
I think it's like become a thing,
I'm
and
done
so
with
he
it.
just like leans into it.
It's his catchphrase.
It's the reason I don't listen to the Daily, not because if I try, I go like, oh, I'm so sad.
I haven't listened to the Daily in a long time. I haven't listened to NPR. I've been out of my NPR bag.
When I was fresh out of college, I was working at this job I hated, but I had my own office.
Ooh.
So I could just-
Company name, location, other employees,
University of Phoenix.
salary, age of every employee.
Wait, did you work at the University of Phoenix?
Yeah,
Whoa.
I worked at the University of Phoenix.
And you were in Arizona. I thought that it was just Phoenix because of like.
No, it was founded in Phoenix.
I thought it was
Arizona.
rising again, like a bird,
Oh.
like a
And
firebird.
I did not work in this department, but there was like a call center department where you would call people and try to get them to sign up.
Yeah.
And they got in trouble for their really messed up labor practices
Yeah.
because if your numbers weren't up, they would put you in the red room with no windows and it was painted red. And you couldn't leave unless you were allowed out. So there was a
crazy.
lawsuit.
You couldn't leave unless you were allowed out. That is breaking so many laws and the Geneva Convention.
That's breaking just like basic instinct. That's like hierarchy of needs cruelty.
Well, so there was a lawsuit, and my ex, who also worked at University of Phoenix at the time, got a chunk of money because he worked there during that time in that department. I was so depressed. I hated working there so bad. It was like truly soul sucking. And I would just listen to NPR all day long and pretend to be typing. I'd just have my little radio and just be
That's-
like,
Back in the day, this is maybe 10 years ago, during March Madness, they would have a fake spreadsheet button that like if your boss came
Yeah.
over your shoulder, you could like click it and it would like look like it was you were doing work.
that's hilarious.
And I was like, who would need this? And then it's that job. Yeah. It's like when you
Mhm.
have very, because I was, young and I just didn't, hadn't worked in.
The number of times I
Corporate.
would, in emergency scenario, case of emergency, command 1 tab, Google Calendar. Oh, what's going on today?
Oh,
What do
dude.
we? Let me just double check what
The
day
reason
it
I'm
is.
so fast with my keyboard shortcuts, dude, I'm fucking quick draw McGraw when it comes
Dude,
to like,
You guys can't read what I'm doing. I'm holding Command Shift and I'm hitting the bracket left
I'm
and right.
so
I mean,
good at looking productive.
I must be working.
My friend Tristan would fall asleep at his desk sitting up with his hands on the keyboard, but he would just put the Google search home screen.
That's
and
so
I'm like,
funny.
dude, search for something.
He's like, no, I'm just imagining, I'm crafting the best search.
Work.
When he searches in Google, he does it once a day. Google goes, incredible work.
Wow.
This is a very considered search, and not a lot of people really think before they
You
search.
guessed the I'm feeling lucky.
Yeah.
You got it exactly
Oh my
right.
God.
I'm feeling like he has such a vestige of an old
Is it gone?
time.
I'm pretty
No,
sure it
it's still
doesn't.
there because of comfort, I think.
But it doesn't pop up on the home screen like it used to,
Yeah,
right?
well, it's just the like, it's
Oh.
literally just the take the first option from the search.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, never mind.
Oh,
never
guys, don't
mind.
worry.
What was I say? I'm feeling stellar. All right, relax.
No, I don't.
Artistic.
I thought that said Arabic. I'm far away.
I'm feeling Arabic. I don't. I'm not a fan of kitschy copy. It really does grind my gears.
Oh man.
Partiful, as anybody listening uses Partiful, I do appreciate it. It's done a lot for like socializing and people putting things together. However, if you send invites on it, it goes, if no one's told you this today, you're epic. And stuff like that.
It
Like,
really is
oh,
like
fuck. Bacon legend, W.
I heard the word adulting said unironically recently, and I apologize to a Gen Z person who is within earshot for my generation's wrongdoings.
That one's tough. What is okay? Obviously, cringe often just it kind of calcifies because it's stuff from the past, and it's like reverse nostalgia, right? You remember a cringe version of yourself from the past, you hear a thing, it locks in.
Adulting is next to Ermagerd.
That stuff, you know what it is about adulting is it feels to me insecure.
It's very much like I'm a little baby in a suit.
It's fear driven,
Yeah.
you know, and that
I'm not a real adult.
don't get mad at me.
Yeah, I'm actually just a kid.
The math isn't mathing.
Yeah, the math isn't mathing, and I'm just a kid actually.
Wait, let's figure out what are some peeps. You're like 2 years old. What's the quintessential millennial term that you would make fun of? What jumps to mind?
I mean, maybe it's because you just said it, but Ermagerd is one, but also
Miranda sings.
adulting.
You couldn't even say it. Your mouth was like,
Yeah,
we can't
yeah,
say it.
it's like there's certain.
My body rejected it.
Well, there's there's like a phoneme acquisition period in child development where like if you don't learn certain
If you don't Ermagerd at a young age.
There's a whole COVID generation that can't say methinks. It's
that's like you can't even look at an advice animal because you'll go into apoplectic shock.
The impact font's too big.
Anaphylactic shock.
I also think of like
Phylactic.
older memes that are like winning.
Oh, winning.
Or like
I think of like salty or extra.
yeah, or like lit
Extra.
at this
Those
point,
are
things like that.
niche. Those are ones that are like that Inglorious Bastards.
Very good vintage, sir, or whatever.
Yeah, where it's like, oh, he's not European. We don't count like this.
Wow, extra. I think that's so like
That's
maybe
so
ladder.
extra.
I think that's like
I haven't heard it in
around.
so long. Wow, it just like really like went.
I remember when I first moved to LA, a mutual acquaintance of me and Jarvis, who I won't name, when I moved here, she was like, let's get coffee together or whatever. And I was like, cool. And I was like, oh, how are you liking LA? And I knew LA already before I moved here. I already knew I liked it.
Yeah,
you know?
I'd heard about it.
You have a gift.
And
We all know Hollywood.
And she was like, you know, I'm too extra for the people here. And I immediately was like, that sounds like a you problem, actually.
Yeah, everyone I know keeps being rude to me.
That's the extra, but on the opposite end of that, basic.
Mm.
Is one I think about a lot. And
Basic.
What about pumpkin spice latte?
PSL, baby.
you can call me Senorita Awesome. I think about
That's a
that all the
tough
time.
Senorita.
You've all seen that, right? Jacob,
Senorita
you've seen
Awesome.
Senorita Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, that's a heater.
Wait, I haven't seen it.
Oh, you're gonna love this.
You have to see.
Welcome to the grind. How may I help you?
Pumpkin spice latte, please. I want it freezing, though. Actually, I just want a regular coffee. Those white girl pumpkin spice lattes annoy me.
I'm in love. Name?
Senorita Awesome.
You got it. Senorita Awesome.
This guy has Superman chin.
And his hair is like,
He
He's
like,
got the
looks like he
swoosh.
should be
What's going on with it?
Superman.
He's like Superman in like a 50s version.
LA is full of people like this where they have like they're distractingly attractive. It's like how do you can't play a normal
Like,
person? You're not
relax.
allowed to be a barista.
Move aside.
classically handsome.
You
You
need to-
You have to
yeah.
look like me.
Hang on, look at this Krypton real quick. How do you feel about it?
Well, your teeth are
kryptonite.
straight in front of me.
Someone said chillax to me recently, and I was like,
Chillax is like
why are you saying that?
It's archaeology.
chillax. Yeah, that one's
I
like
think that's
we
younger,
thought.
like Gen X.
That's lost media. I thought we lost the scrolls.
I think,
you know what I
think the
mean?
Berlin Wall fell down after that.
Yeah. Wow.
I once had a kid get really mad at me because I said, take a chill pill. We were like 8 years old. And
Yeah.
he freaked out. He went, that's not real.
Now
You just stop saying it.
I do.
I would if I could, but it doesn't exist.
I do like using like older stuff. Like there was a period, and maybe we'll start saying this again. I would say rad a lot.
I say rad and radical because I think it's funny.
I think it's fun. And then these days, and I don't know where I got this from, but I will say that rules. I love that.
I think I got this from Jordan. I keep saying that rocks.
Yeah,
That's
that rocks.
awesome. Like,
That rocks.
I will say no duh because I think it's funny.
No, does funny.
No, I honestly, there's no better feeling in the world to me for some reason than seeing like a terrible take or something. Something go, that rocks. That's so true.
Oh yeah. Oh, I will instantly hit a like hell yeah, brother, if someone like says the N-word to me on like an Uber. Like if a white man just like I go for sure, dog.
You're so true, dude.
The one thing that's kind of hit Sad Boys team like a virus is just doing like Reddit voice.
Yeah, that's the tough one.
like literally all of us have done it at some point or
I can't help
another.
but feel a little guilty.
Yeah, it's
I
like,
do think it is your fault.
is your
You are
fault.
patient zero.
Austin is Reddit core also, to be fair.
I think he got it from you originally.
He's maybe
I
too
think he
young,
did.
actually. It would really make sense.
I've been texting to people a lot.
yeah, no, I hit a lot.
You're really thinking that's happening right now?
Scream queens.
Actually, Katie's as guilty as me. I think we egg each other on. That might be words. So like that.
Yeah, I think you two need to be separated.
Rad's a weird one because that was me and my sort of friends who were like 15 were very much like a marabou, like a LARPing, kind of stuff. Thankfully, pre Mr. Beast kid voice, so we still sounded the same as we did. But Rad was part of our wearing flat caps and like US thrash metal scene had kind of bled in, so it's a lot of like bright colors, H&M, red H&M sweater hoodies, but there's like a goofy looking hot dog design on it or something like that.
One thing that, our conversation about millennial stupidity, millennial terms and stuff,
I can get behind this.
cringeness, right? Is there's like a weird turn happening now where there's Gen Z TikTokers and stuff that are like romanticizing being a millennial. No offense to millennials, I am one. But
it feels like
it's a bad time. Like millennials kind of got the short straw in a lot of
It's a lot
situations.
easier
Gen
to be
Z, I think, got the short straw.
Well, but I'm talking about how millennials graduated from college into a recession.
Yeah, true.
Had
But-
like very few financial and work opportunities, and then
I think it got-
COVID, and then
I think, and this is just my personal opinion, I think Gen Z has it worse because we like millennials got to like get to live life a little bit. Like our thing is like you're buying too many lattes, that's why you can't afford a house.
Yep. Why don't you buy diamonds?
But like Gen Z is like, oh, the world is ending.
We got promised and betrayed. They never got any promises.
It's not like just a recession. It's like we feel like we're on the brink of economic collapse.
Yeah.
Depending on where you are in Gen Z, you either finished college or finished high school into lockdown where you like lost very valuable years of like social development.
I guess I'll say it's not a competition.
I think it is.
It's not.
We're better though.
It's not a trauma competition. All times are bad. Every time has their, Vietnam War or whatever.
What happened?
It's interesting, like the fact that we're about to see people romanticizing millennials, especially being like one generation removed from it, because like people would be like, oh, I wish I grew up in the 80s. Oh, well, romanticize the 80s, or
it's
but
like basically yesterday.
Yeah, but it's like this one says, imagine it's 2013. I'm like, no, Gen Z grew up in 2013.
You lived in 2013.
We did live in 2013.
Dude, I wish I was
I feel
around
like you
when-
were a little baby.
Like I was born in the 90s, but I didn't really live in the 90s. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So
Which I think is like, I think one thing I would say to our benefit, to the millennial shorties, we do have it's much easier for us to be nostalgic for our era because it has a very comfortable separation line between pre and post internet, where even though the internet is around when we are relatively young, it's so kind of now it's so atomized to the point where there is always more than you can handle,
Yeah.
and there is always something to hate you, and vice versa.
Yeah.
Versus most of the things we can be nostalgic for are playing a split screen game set together, or even playing RuneScape, but you are being a kid. I can't imagine what a summer off of school for a Gen Z high schooler is now, because all of the same social performance and engagement is present the exact same amount it would be at school.
I feel like as a millennial, I went through we experienced the beginning of the social internet.
It was ours too, which is
and so it's like I remember being off from school and then getting FOMO because people were hanging out and posting about it on Facebook.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That would be literally anytime something would happen, your feed would just be whatever happened.
Yeah.
That would be your Facebook feed, was the thing you went to last night.
So I want to ask peeps what they think about like the Jordan's point about when you go into a holiday or you're away from school or whatever, does it feel like you're on vacation, or do you feel like you're still tethered to like the world?
Well, it depends on what at which point in my life, because you know, when I was a kid, it was a lot of I got my first like iTouch or like phone that could do things other than call my mom.
Wait, what did you call it?
Like iPod Touch.
iTouch.
Yeah.
Interesting. Oh, never heard that before.
I
like that.
When I was probably like 11, 12
Oh man.
when I got my first one, and so like I was like the first
Like
time I was playing games and stuff. So like until then, it was you know, my mom would call my friend's mom and they would arrange for us to hang out, and so it was a lot of playing
Your
outside,
agents.
doing all that stuff, and
But
not
you were
being on the internet.
an iPad kid?
Peeps is gonna be available that weekend. They're pretty busy right now, but I think we can make
They're pretty busy. They're
playtime
playing
work.
If it's like if I'm not hanging out with friends, it was my sister and I were sitting around the computer in my dad's office playing Club Penguin or Webkins.
Okay, yeah, so that's relatable to me.
Yeah. So
Did you ever see me sitting around the server spamming a sad face because one of my friends logged off?
Oh no, I was on Toontown when you were doing that.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
I was out of town. I was in Club Penguin. I was on a ski trip.
But as I got to like middle school and high school, it was a lot of just like, actually, when I got to middle school, all I was doing when I wasn't in school was playing Minecraft. I think there was a solid 2 summers where I would wake up, sit on the couch, play Minecraft, go to bed, wake up, play Minecraft. Like it was just like
That feels
yeah.
relatable to me.
And that's when I
that feels
started.
relatable to me as well.
That's when I started getting like online friends, and a lot of my friends growing up were online.
Yeah.
So it's like I didn't really have a lot of that, like, besides like my 3 friends at school, didn't have a lot of that like physical interaction with people until really high school.
Well, there is a sustained level of like intimacy to like online relationships or like online friendships and community. I think sometimes gets unfairly minimized or like derided due to it being like, you don't know anyone online. They're not the real them. It's performance. But like, come on. When I'm 15, I was as performative as I would have been if I was like active on Instagram or something.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that now I get to, you know, say like do that Gen X thing where they go like, when we played on a slide, it was covered in broken glass and every swing was on fire, and I get to talk about it and kind of memory hole like the grander, scarier stuff. But I think my brain would maybe get overloaded by knowing so much about so many people, even if it's only the best foot they're putting forward, knowing what like every single one of my friends' family looks like from Instagram, knowing what every single one of their hobbies are, it would be like...
Yeah, and it's also interesting because like as we got to the late middle school, high school phase, I was, you know, online less and hanging out with in real life friends more, but growing up with this technology and like wanting to like remember funny moments, we always had our phones out recording each other. We were always like recording in hopes we'd get the funny thing that the funny friend said.
Right.
You know? And so it's I've
that's like a thing that like we just didn't have phone batteries that lasted that long.
Yeah, it was purely practical.
Yeah.
What we would do is try to stop podcasts.
Like the home camcorder that your mom would make home videos on.
The doctor is probably what they say when they go to work. But you don't experience that, do you, Jordan? Because you never go to the doctor, you dumb donkey.
Hey, brother, lock me up. I'm sorry for bothering you. Could you help me? I'm sick. Oh,
It's daunting because my cell phone is a scary place, but thankfully it doesn't have to be so scary because today's sponsor, Zocdoc, is a free app and website where you can search and compare high-quality in-network doctors that fit your specific needs and click instantly to book an appointment.
You're telling me from mental health to dental health, primary care to urgent care, and even more, I can do it all with the app?
You can do it all with the app and it's free. You can filter for doctors who take your insurance, who are located nearby, fit your specific needs, and are highly rated by verified patients.
I can do that?
You can't, even you.
What? Once you find the right doctor, you can see their actual appointment openings, choose a time slot that works for you, and click to book instantly.
Zocdoc appointments happen fast. We're talking typically between 24 and 72 hours of booking. Plus, you can score the mythical same-day appointment.
I used Zocdoc when I first moved to America, and then when I moved from San Francisco to LA, and I'll tell you for why, is that even to this day, I am very confused by the American medical system, and it's nice to have an app that tells me, hey, these are the, just do these ones,
You can
please.
just do this.
Just do these.
And Zocdoc makes it all easy. So stop putting off those doctor's appointments and head on over to Zocdoc.com/sadboys, that's us, and find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today.
ZocDoc.com/sadboys.
Zocdoc.com/sadboys. Well, it's like, because I feel like for my generation, I was pretty early to having a lot of online friends and having a lot of online community, because it was something that like not a lot of people I knew could relate to if I were ever to even talk about it. But
And it does feel nice. It's almost like it's something you build completely yourself. These aren't like kids you went to school with, or like a bunch of my friends when I was, I don't know, like 13, 14, are just Scottish guys I met on Xbox Live. And we're all basically the same person, and we're all sharing a community because we all needed friends, you know. But instead of like seeing that as I have nobody else to reach out to, it was like, these are my friends. My mom didn't call their mom and set this up. This is like, we're like an office. We're buddies.
This is interesting, this idea that there are two Gen Zs.
It's just different.
I was kind of talking about this too.
Yeah, I do think this is really true. And also, like, I just want to like preface or, interject into this conversation that like generations aren't all encompassing into personal identity. Like there are so many people who veer away from these descriptors. Even though they were like living in this time period, but
that's what like I kind of get, like, there's always like the Gen Z versus millennial war on TikTok. Like I get videos that are like millennial core, and it's like the same three people being just cringe people, and I'm like, no, that's not millennials, that's just these three people being weird.
Well, and the fact that like I asked you previous if you were an iPad kid. I think iPad kids had more money. You know what I mean? Like there's class divides, there's other elements that would change the experience of
you have to have like the time and resources to encounter these problems, right?
Yeah.
To be able to riff on millennials or vice versa, you have to, I don't know, be online enough to be exposed to it. Why the fuck else would you know about so that just happened?
And anyone that makes their identity like oh, I'm a millennial and I hate Gen Z, but like you're just proving everyone's point. Why are you labeling it so hard? Bless you.
Yeah.
Like, and there's truly two millennials too. Like the people who didn't get the internet until late high school, college, and the people who got it when they were in middle school or whatever. It's like
the fellas.
It's very different experience.
I've also experienced, I don't know, Jordan, if you've experienced this, but like we are chronically online. It's just like, it's a part of our lives. It's a part of our jobs. And it used like, when I engage with people from our, let's say, old coworkers or old friends from different eras of our life, in some ways, the way that I feel like they communicate with me is a little time capsuled.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that for better or for worse, but I just noticed that
because they're writing you letters.
They're saying it's been a fortnight since our last correspondence.
My love.
I just think that the reason that my communication style has changed over time is because I've always just been so online, and that's the place that that's the language that I'm speaking.
Yeah.
And for my friends that are chronically offline, they might still hit me with an Ermagerd, you know.
Yep, sure.
I feel the same way with I feel like I'm always explaining internet stuff to people just because it's like, this is my job, and I'm way more online than a lot of my friends of my same age.
There's also, it's not, insidious is the wrong word, but it is kind of unavoidable maybe. I don't want to be a phone bad, Black Mirror good guy, but there is an element to like, I don't post really ever, but I have my thumb rhythmically involved with social media to the extent where I will open X the Everything app because I want to hang out with Grok. I pop it open. I'm only one of those guys that like, at Grok, download this for some fucking reason. And then I pretty much immediately close. But the way my brain works, anything I'm trying to do offline is conscious. I'm still like fighting the synapses to go and take a walk instead of do the natural normal thing, which is scroll.
Oh, 100%.
That's like base brain.
Can I read this? Because I think think it's so funny.
It is very.
Let's prove you can read.
Imagine.
Ooh.
It's 2013. A new episode of Girls just dropped. You're a millennial woman living in Greenpoint, Brooklyn, trying to make it as a slam poet.
Make it as a slam poet is hilarious.
How
2013.
has anyone ever
That's like a
made
black
it as a
white
slam
ass like.
And you're
As
dating
a rapist.
You're dating a man who makes BuzzFeed quizzes. Life is good. Life is probably not
Dude,
good.
Yeah.
2013. I think it's
The man who makes BuzzFeed quizzes probably went to school for journalism, is trying so hard to be a journalist, but can't get any job but BuzzFeed quiz guy where he's not making enough money.
Yeah.
Slam poet?
Yeah, I was gonna say
you have a day job.
you don't
Trying-
like each other very much, but you're still dating because you are on a lease.
Yeah, you can't
trying
afford
to make
move
it
out.
as a slam poet implies that it's not going
You're working
well.
at an entry level job at Capital One.
What's the made it?
I would
What's
have been,
what's the result of being a slam poet?
You're on Wildin' Out.
That's the end.
I
Yes.
don't know.
Oh, this is so funny.
I would have been a great millennial. I would work at ID, and my friends would work at Vice and BuzzFeed News. And we'd write listicles and Twitter as
Listicles being
was at
romanticized
its
is insane.
prime. Unfortunately, I was too busy being in the 6th grade to participate.
Twitter at its prime.
Twitter in its prime. Dude,
Can
I
you
remember,
imagine?
Twitter in its prime, the true early days of Twitter, it was like Ashton Kutcher was the most famous
Yeah,
person
dude.
on Twitter. A+K. That was his at. And we followed him like Jesus.
Dude, it was all shower thoughts.
Yeah,
That
it
like
was, dude.
just Twitter.
Pooping RN.
It was like, what would it? So you out hot eat the food, but you why do they call it oven?
it was just shower thoughts.
Everyone's like, oh, peak.
And the caption on that post was like, why is Gen Z suddenly jealous of millennials? And it's like, no, things are bad right now.
Yeah.
And so they're like, oh, no, but so back then they were just doing this, so it must have all been good. No, millennials were having their own issues at that time, and all you
It's
saw
like things
was
have
what's
kind
on
of
Instagram.
consistently
It's-
been bad.
It's so
easier.
insulting to call someone a BuzzFeed writer about it. The idea of like complimentary being like, dude, you wrote listicles as a job.
Dude,
It was
you
truly-
made that
they'd make
Harry
fun of
Potter
you.
sorting quiz so well.
BuzzFeed was such a like punching bag
Yeah.
for so long, especially the BuzzFeed website. Like, and it's so funny to see that.
It's like if there's like if one of these was like, I wish I could go back to the peak of comedy with like Big Bang Theory. Everyone was making fun of Big Bang Theory.
Well,
Regardless of what you think of the show,
Yeah, 100%.
The online contingent were not the reason that show was successful. The BuzzFeed writers weren't the ones being like, oh, dude, I love Big Bang Theory. They just had to write, here's the top 10 penny moments of
just like a lot of
2015.
things were bubbling under, and a lot of the issues that we have now were issues in the past or were kind of developing into the current day issues. Like, Peeps, what is your view of the economy?
Oh,
Right, the economy right now.
Yeah.
right now.
Now, Peeps, you're a healthcare executive?
Watch your back.
CMO.
The CMO.
Who's
Ooh,
that?
Chief money
Yeah.
officer.
Bad. It's
Mhm.
really bad.
Yeah.
Especially when I hear all of the why does Gen Z not want to buy a house? Why does Gen Z not want to have kids? It's like we can't afford ourselves.
Yeah, what's the
That's what-
Occam's razor on that one?
Yeah, or
Don't
like-
know. Just never wanted comfortable lifestyle.
My mom and stepdad said, "Why are you throwing your money away on rent? You should buy a house."
Right. Classic.
And I was like,
Oh, wait.
"Cool, how?"
It's the little yachty Drake. We the other day we were plugging our childhood homes into Zillow, and I found out that my childhood home sold. Now it's not in a neighborhood. You wouldn't want to live in the house. You wouldn't want to live in the neighborhood the house is in, more than likely. I had a great childhood, all things considered. But in 2010, the house that I grew up in sold for $20,000, which is crazy. It's a small fucking house.
The price was the same as the number of year.
It was probably like unlivable or whatever at the time, and they like renovated it, and then
But
it sold
just for
again
land.
for $40,000. Yeah, it is still a cheap house
Let's
today,
watch
but
this real quick because I want to see this guy's math.
The millennials and Gen Zers who are complaining that they can't buy a house are not working for minimum wage. These are people making $60, $70, $80, $90,000 a year who can no longer afford a house. But minimum wage workers are also complaining because they can't afford rent. If you look back to 1980, the rent was $243. Minimum wage was $3.10, meaning your monthly gross was $496. So to rent this apartment, it would be 48.9% of your gross income back in 1980. But let's fast forward to 2024. The average rent is $17.47. The federal minimum wage is $7.25, giving you $11.60. You can't even get an apartment with the federal minimum wage. But let's be generous and double the federal minimum wage because people at Walmart and fast food joints are making $14.50 to $15. So $14.50 would bring you to $23.20. So technically you're making more, but this is your gross, and it'd be 75% of your gross income.
Yeah,
making
which is
double the federal minimum wage in
Yeah.
2024.
So
But let's
what else do you have money for?
it's weird that people don't acknowledge how shitty it is.
Well,
And I get, it's like the generation does, but like people in power are
Yeah.
like lie through their teeth.
because it doesn't benefit them,
Yeah,
honestly.
true. Yeah, because then they have to solve it. if
Stop
they say
asking
it's a problem.
questions.
They-
Stop, yeah.
I would say that this is me being a perpetual pessimist and
Pee-pee?
hater, but a peepee
Anastasia's peeping again.
Yeah.
is that they actually benefit from our desperation.
Oh, for
Oh
sure.
my God.
And
Yeah.
they want us to work constantly.
I mean, that's the foundation of the feudal system.
Yeah.
It's like, I saw a comparison the other day
Exactly.
of the function of oppression is a steam engine. Because the more you oppress and the more you restrict, and this was in reference to like religious doctrine and stuff, but it applies here as well, where the fewer opportunities and fewer levers that you offer people, the more like homogenous the group focuses. Like, hey, you can't drink booze, you can't jack off, you can't do you can't do whatever. It was like, well, I better till the fields, I guess. Like, what else am I going to do with my time? And now it's like, well, you can't buy a house, you can't do any of these things. We're still going to make a lot of TV that talks about the American dream. You can still watch Blue Bloods and think that cops are epic swag.
Yeah.
But they're also still going to shoot you, and you also
Right.
can't buy a house. And it's a cope, I think, is part of it.
Yeah.
Like, how nice would it feel to be like, you're like, just completely, it takes someone, they're completely financially secure, nothing is in their way, but they have been, it's one of those kids like, grew up middle to upper middle class, but was taught the value of the dollar. So that when they get a job from their uncles, they can pretend they built it themselves.
Yeah.
How nice would it be to be that person, still think you air quotes struggled because the Switch costs more
I
now,
worked hard for my money.
but you also get the sweet, sweet privilege of judging your peers because they chose to work at Walmart. Like, what do you want? No
my
one to
God.
work at Walmart?
Well, okay, it's also like there's everyone being like, well, no one wants to work, and I sent Jacob a video of someone who made a little animation thing that's like, over the course of the past like 2 months, I've applied to 64 jobs, 48 didn't respond, 19 rejected me, and one after 4 interviews also rejected me. And it's like, yeah, and I've had so many friends personally who have been through this process and have been applying, and you can't even, like, some of them Yeah, here it is.
Well, like half the jobs are fake.
Yeah, like
Like so many jobs are false advertised.
And then it's full of
They're like ghost jobs.
all of the more prestigious roles for like for a middle class role are less impactful than working at a fast food restaurant, than working at Walmart. They're make work jobs. You sit and you open the Excel folder, and then you jump on over to Google, you close it as soon as your boss walks by, but you sit ambiently because Bank of America has too much money to know what it's spending it on.
True.
Yeah, my building manager the other day said
Name, address.
I'm
Bill
I'm so frustrated with him. I'm really close to saying his name.
Manager.
But there was an open apartment, and he said, I'm trying to hire a cleaner to come and clean this open apartment, but no one wants to work these days.
Well, it's that no one wants to work for what you're willing to pay.
Well, so I said,
No one wants to have no money.
I know cleaners. I can recommend some to you. How much are you offering? He said $50.
What?
$50.
No one wants to work these days.
And I said, oh yeah, of course no one wants to work for $50 to clean a whole ass apartment.
That's insane.
What could it be?
There's no
There's
chance.
something here that's stopping them from being willing to do it. I think it must be laziness. It can't be that I'm paying them like 1/3 of a Steam sale.
Yeah, dude, I'm humble bundling these fucking cleaners.
It must
I'm like,
be.
what do you mean? You and all your friends should want to clean my place for a nickel.
And he said, I
insane.
guess I have to do it yourself. And I said, yeah, for $50, yeah, you have to do it
Yeah,
yourself.
because think about it, like, you know, if they're the building manager, if they clean, how long does it take them, right? And then you could say to them, wow, it took you 3 hours to clean. You just priced your own labor
3 hours
for like less than $20 an hour.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Like Walmart or like fast food places are trying to offer people like, oh, we're paying up to $19 if you're like a manager, like the store manager, like, oh, $19 an hour. And then I've literally seen people applying for McDonald's, Walmart, Target. They will not hire anyone. And it's like, you are begging people to come work for you, and then you're rejecting everyone.
Even when I was in school, like, I was in a situation where the market was so favorable to my specific skill set that I like low-key had on accident, because I didn't know going into my major that it was going to be a thing that was like going to be booming at the time that
You were just interested in it.
I was just interested in it. And what's crazy is that there was even this era in like 2013 to maybe even 2020 where everyone was on their like learn to code shit, where it was like, this fucking teacher, they should just fucking learn to code. This fucking bus driver, if they're not happy about the economy, they should just like learn a new trade or whatever.
Udemy, pal.
And now with like generative AI, and also with like kind of the market being what it is, there are a lot less of those jobs for like programming and stuff like that. And
they're paying less.
And they're paying less, but the like judgmental, like, I'm in my little ivory tower being like, oh, you should actually learn a marketable skill. Oh, well, I learned to code, and now how's that working for me?
No, you
There's
do
so
a new
many
one.
people.
You have to learn to drive a bus.
You have to predict. If I could predict the market, I'd be rich.
Well, now you should learn to drop ship.
Oh, and
Also-
even drop shipping is like drop shipping is the ancient scrolls of like that type of like hustle thing. Now you've got to like sell a course about selling courses.
Drop shipping feels like I'm being like, it's such an old hat way of, it's just classic scam, get rich quick, whatever. That is like if somebody was like, no, I'm not really an organ harvester. I'm like a belly taker, you know? I like take stuff and I sell it
just
to
take
the
little
mob,
bellies,
but it's
yeah.
just,
Also,
I'm
there's
tickle you while I do it.
a lack of things that we actually need, like mechanics, electricians, plumbers, that sort of thing. Like, people aren't going into those trades because, you know, you are being told you should code or whatever.
Or teachers. Like, it's like, I can't name like a more important like role for our society to just be completely laying by the wayside in terms of, it's very much like no one wants to work anymore. Like, oh, you have to pay for your own supply. My sister is a teacher, but like, oh, you have to pay for your own supplies out of your own fucking small ass. Like, first of all, you're not making that much money to begin with. And then on top of that, you're being asked to perform above and beyond. Not to mention your job extends outside of the
you have no
traditional 9 to
supplemental
5.
time. You would have to be learning to code during nap time.
I saw a TikTok of a teacher that had gone through like 500 pencils within like the first 2 weeks of school because kids weren't returning them. And so they were like, I've started asking them, like, if they take a pencil, I take their phone, and they have to like, so they have to give the pencil back.
That's
or like
wild.
something
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that. You know, they have to give me something that they don't want to leave behind.
Right. It's like your ID.
Like leaving your ID
yeah,
somewhere,
yeah.
like I'll be back. Like,
But-
because they can't afford more pencils.
My mom used to be on the school board for her tiny town, and the school board had the teachers make Amazon wish lists, and it's like that we can't operate this way. They're
It's
not getting
crazy.
what they need.
It's like the community should not have to rally together to be able to do one of the most basic things that a community should.
The mission
be
of
able
like
to
a
do.
guild should not be to keep themselves alive. It should be to like
Yeah.
thrive. And that, again, universal basic income is, it gets again, the greatest trick the devil ever played is that merit is the only thing that should exist for some reason. But like universal basic
and that
income,
success is a meritocracy.
it's pure meritocracy, and the university. What? No one has ever presented a real argument against UBI, because the real argument, well, the arguments they make, is just a repackaging of it's not fair.
It
I don't-
devalues what I did.
It can't be like,
which is so
he
crazy,
is like
dude. If
a
everybody just got
livable-
$1 billion and I didn't,
he
it
is
would be
$500 a month, and in the meantime, go to trade school. Like that is what UBI is typically in a lot of Europe is like applied as, right?
Yeah.
But because we are here so brain broken, so warped, that the idea of getting something for air quotes nothing, which makes no sense.
It doesn't make any sense.
Is
It's like when someone doesn't want to invest, like pay taxes. It's like, well, I'm not getting anything from it. It's like, oh, okay, then you you're like a sociopath who only believes in themselves.
don't use
Like,
the roads.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, and it's like, yes, you could have an argument about how the government is allocating funds, but sort of trying to erode the concept of government it like makes sense, right?
Yeah, sure,
The
yeah.
concept of community
Connection, like
makes sense.
delegating responsibilities to the people you have delegated. Like
Yeah.
But it's just that those people, they
Well,
get
not
laid out
all
by
of us
things.
can. If there's 10 of us and we all have to do a certain job, not all of us can learn to code.
Yeah.
Because then we're just gonna have 10 coders and no one who can fucking fix the pipes.
10 coders with no drinking water.
Yeah.
Let's watch what Dr. Phil has to say. real
Finally,
quick.
some
Oh,
sense,
dude, he looks like
Yeah.
if Smeagol was allergic to peanuts. What's wrong with what's going on at the top of his head there?
He looks kind of like old Minecraft Steve.
I just want to say
A square
he
ass
has
head.
always been a fake ass piece of shit.
Ghoul.
Well, what about the work ethic of Gen Z? What do you guys think about this
level
younger
woke.
generation and how they work, don't work, move around, job-wise, what they expect?
Look at that fucking
How do you
Gen Z
feel
ass
about
crowd.
how they their gait and how they levitate often?
What do you think about the Gen Z's vertical leap? If they got hops,
I noticed the black ones don't jump as high as they used to. Sorry, he didn't say that. That was me.
why don't we got as many Larry Birds like we used to? What happened there?
Fly like Larry
You see
Bird.
this long hair over here?
This bee. Doctor.
I don't like stereotypes of any kind. I think there are ambitious, industrious people in your generation. There were, in our generation, there were also deadbeats. It's just a very,
So far, so good.
it's so individual.
Okay.
You know, if you're seeing at Dollar Tree on your timeline, that's because they're under fire after a manager in Indiana posted, "Help wanted," but only for boomers and not Gen Z because, quote, "don't know what work actually means." And then I
Isn't Dollar Tree, like,
apologize for
famously
us closing again.
under-
My 2 new cashiers quit because I said their boyfriends couldn't stand here for their entire shift. Don't hire Gen Z. They don't know what work actually means.
Don't hire them. Don't fire all women from game development.
But get a job, but don't hire Gen Z. Like
Get a job,
literally,
don't hire
it's
Gen
like
Z. Why aren't they buying houses?
that's a lock. You've soft locked Gen Z from getting a job.
They're stun lock. Every time they get up, they
you're
just get
actually
hit again.
don't hire Gen Z. Gen Z, get a job.
Also,
It's time to grow up. Stay a child.
my first job was at the Sanrio store. I loved Hello Kitty, still
Which
do.
is not a place in Brazil. It's about it's about Hello Kitty.
And I was 16 or 15. I was young, and I became friends with my coworkers.
Hello Kitty.
And we
Goodbye,
were
Kitty.
kids. We wanted our boyfriends to stand there or whatever. Yeah. We goofed off. We played when the manager was gone. We played like our hip hop music or whatever she didn't like us playing.
I call it crap.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Like, if you're getting the work done, great. It's the dollar store. Relax.
Yeah. Oh my God.
And
If I'm at
it's kind of the like, hey, we're a family mentality, but with less kind of Vaseline, with like a little less grease on it. Because instead it's just like, hey, we're a family and that's why you work late. And then this one's like, hey, you need to work late or I will remove your personhood. I will take away your ability to be a person.
I worked at an ice cream shop and a coffee shop for a while, and I would have friends come over, and then when I have a customer, I go, oh, 1 sec. And I go help the customer, I do my job, and then I go back downtown.
You got fired for eating all the ice cream.
Yeah, and it's like if I am at a corporate job and I'm in an office and my best friend or my boyfriend or whatever is standing there the whole time, I'd be like, yeah, maybe get out of here.
Because you're also
let you in here.
To be fair, like in like where we met when we worked together, we were, however exploitative any workplace can be, that hey, you got to work and grind and grind, and you shouldn't work too long, but you should. Can I give you a call on the weekend? That kind of stuff. It's not the ask we would make of anyone, but we were partly bought in because there was a promise. There was a, hey, you will rise in this company. It's almost implicit
You will
that
rise in
you're
this
never
company,
done.
and with a lot of startups, tech startups especially, you're usually taking a hit to salary with small startups because of like how much funding they have. But then you get, as a part of your compensation package, actual stock in the company, which means that there is a financial correlation between how well the company does and how well you do.
But
and like
the labor wasn't equal, and the facilities managers didn't make as much as somebody else.
Yes, and there's a million more stories of those the companies that completely zero out.
Yeah.
And you have to know that, like, I went to go work at Patreon for the mission, knowing that my because I like wanted to feel some sort of actualization in my work, and also knowing that any stock was lottery tickets.
Yeah, I literally didn't have any conception of, I didn't know I was getting stock until I already had about 2 years of it.
Yeah.
I just never even thought about it. I was 21 and I went there because I had been begging them to let me do work for free.
Yeah.
And then finally in college, they let me start doing stuff. I get the visa, move there, get into it. And again, very fortunate. I could have been manipulated. I was like prime candidate for somebody to get underpaid and overworked and so and so. No one wants to work anymore. It's like, okay, well, would you work for free?
It's a crazy
$1? When's it allowed?
It's just like why this person isn't a doctor, because they're horrible at triage.
Yeah,
like
they're bad managed.
I'm just making a joke, but like, because if this person is a franchise owner or not, if they're just a manager, Dollar Tree is like, a lot of them are like famously under staffed, and like this person is being crunched by corporate and they're placing the blame on the level below them, and that's how this ruling class succeeds.
Yeah.
Is because you're blaming the entry-level employees or the people who do just want jobs and think that a job at Dollar Tree isn't going to be like, it's like not the army or whatever.
Yeah. Well, it's like, because who else do you yell? You can't yell at Dollar Tree.
You can't yell at your boss. So
No.
now you have to impose your power, and then you feel powerless. And so you just go, it's the generation.
Yeah, I'm struggling too. It's that kind of thing. It's
They
like,
are. Like, because when I see that, I'm like, okay, yeah, you can be an asshole and I'll still like defend your personhood.
I want you to also get the health care.
I don't want you to be under the stress that you're probably under, right?
I also think that like the older generations tend to be so harsh on young people and forget that they were the exact same way. Like when these boomers had jobs as teens, if they had jobs as teens, they probably were not great workers because they were learning, right?
I mean,
they weren't.
the if is a good point. I mean, having a part-time job while living with your parents at home at that period of time, through actually, like the mid-2000s is not even really this. Like for a very long time, would supplement a savings account. You could move out of home if you went to college with thousands of dollars,
right?
Because you worked 2 shifts a week for a few years at the local retail store,
right?
Because you could, it's numbers.
Meanwhile, like Gen Z is like trying to make ends meet and staring at the calendar where it says overtime, and then still like not finding a way to make it work. But then there's no empathy given to that because it's much easier to assume that everything is the same and you actually were exceptional than it being a different time and the variables and circumstances having changed.
Because that means your success is actually not as valuable.
Yeah, now we put an asterisk on my success. Oh, clutch my pearls, I might have to.
Excuse me, it's you for no reason doing it.
I got my first job at 15 and was there for 4 years. About 2 years into that, got a second job, was working at both places most every day. And then from 15 to 22, had 4 jobs between that time. Didn't move out until I was 23 because I couldn't afford to do that until then. And it's like, you can't, it just does, it's not the same as it was.
And it's so crazy because like the hierarchy of needs and desire has not changed. So they look at a generation and think non-critically and say, well, I guess they don't want to work. Okay, we'll keep going. That's not genetically they don't.
Yeah.
Do you think it was like radiation from Chernobyl?
Right, no, it's literally keep going because the previous generation raised them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
So
they're yours.
This is anecdotal, and you're damning a whole generation off of a few tweets and
so
things.
that's why I like Jane Doe or whatever her name is.
Yeah.
Like she was at least a little bit more nuanced.
Did you ever? We might have watched on the show. This was like maybe last year. The 9 to 5 girl. Remember that like quick moment?
Well, I don't know if we watched it on the show, but I was just in an Uber where this guy was talking to me about a 9 to 5 girl who does lives or does short form where they like do content about their 9 to 5 job, but then like somehow like bought a house.
Oh, that.
And they were like, you got to hustle. And then they're like, something isn't adding up here.
She's kind of like the inverse of this because it was a viral clip that went around maybe 2 years ago, but it's somebody who went to college at kind of like early COVID, had gotten out, had a degree that facilitated them moving from the college they went to in New York to moving into an office role. But I think maybe they were living in like Jersey and having to go in.
Yes.
And they were just making this video.
Right. The
I have
TikTok
to
where
travel,
she's just like talking about how it's rough.
I have to travel 2.5 hours to get to the office. And then once I'm there at 9 a.m., I have to wait for people to come in.
And she's like, how do people have
and she's
time for
getting
anything?
home at like 9 p.m. and has no time for anything. And I'm as guilty as anyone. I watched that and my very first instinct was like, sorry, Donna, that's life. And then I caught myself and went, yeah, but she's completely right.
Yeah.
Like if she was like, I'm in medical debt because someone drunk drove into me, I'd be like, well, it happens.
Yeah.
No, this is insane.
Suck it up.
She shouldn't have to do that.
It's also, she is unfortunately a woman online. Yeah. And if she expresses any sort of quandary, then it's her fault. Yeah. And she's like actually a bimbo.
Maybe they shouldn't hire a DEI style person.
And then actually like all these negative things that are just being projected on her because of like internalized and externalized misogyny.
Should we pass on the rest of this, Dr. Phil? Because it just makes me mad.
Well, I want to see what
the boomers say.
Well, there's like someone in hoop earrings that I want to hear from.
There's some DEI style people.
Now hiring baby boomers only. Thanks.
Dumb.
Wow.
So apparently they had a
I'm here to stoke divisiveness here across generations. So here's a one-sided take that I'm going to make you all fight about.
But I don't have an opinion. You go ahead.
And I'm not a doctor, and you should not look into my history whatsoever.
They had a problem with, I guess,
But I think they're being way too
boyfriends showing up.
Yes.
You're right. You
Definitely
can't
being way too
assume
general.
that because a few Gen Z people they're all like that. And also, like, low-key, that sounds illegal. Open discrimination and bragging about it.
I think Dollar Tree agreed with you because they did put up this statement. The manager in question is no longer employed.
Oh.
Is that a known, right? Like it's like kind of what I was saying. Like I get it, right? Like their actions have consequences, but it's hard for me to be like unless they're my direct manager, at which case if they wrong me, then damn you. But
burn them alive, yeah.
But in this situation, it's like, okay, so they were misguided about the root of the problem, but they were just a manager who was being crunched by this famously understaffed thing,
and so they
just had an outburst, and so they were punished.
Like this sounds like a Dollar Tree problem, not
it's a Dollar Tree
person problem,
or it's a systemic problem at the very least.
It's an issue of like, okay, well, what sacrifice is the company or the people involved willing to make? What Guy Fawkes effigy can we burn which satisfies them? What sacrifice do you need? A goat? We'll stab a goat? Oh no, okay, you want this person fired? Okay, arguable whether or not that's reasonable, but we'll do it for you and they can, I don't know. To be fair, something that is a little bit of an epidemic, and I think we've all been guilty of at different times, especially online, is a little bit of bloodthirstiness and a little bit of catharsis that comes from, yes, that lady that said the N-word is dead now.
She should never work again in this town.
And like, look, if it is a teacher that like, there was like a teacher that wore like a Native American headdress and she got fired from the school and everyone was like, yes, that's what you need. I'm like, no one even talked to...
Yeah,
you're saying there's no point in your whole life where you also thought that was okay.
Yeah,
it
Never
does
in
feel
your whole
like
life.
the blood sport of like we're in the Coliseum and I've watched them be beheaded before my very eyes.
And it's
I'm here to
okay.
celebrate. Huzzah!
They're not real. They're gladiators. It's
Yeah.
fine.
Ah, yes, the VP and Investor Relations for Dollar Tree Inc.
Investor relations.
Ghoul at
Yeah, dude, VP of Ghoul Incorporated.
Necromancer at Dollar Tree Incorporated.
All right, great, dude. Congrats.
Randy Gouler.
Not saying that the other person wasn't wrong, but you know what I mean. It's like it's weird to root for the corporation won.
Nothing
Let's
was
fucking
fixed,
go.
but one of them was killed.
Yeah.
Dollar Tree released a statement that it did not approve or condone the sign. John's a professor, and he says his Gen Z students are lazy, less motivated, only interested in themselves, and need to socialize more, that they're consumed by their phones. You say if somebody's up giving a presentation or whatever, not them, they don't even pay attention to it.
They seem to want to focus on their phones more than listening and learning. So it's frustrating.
Who's focused on their phones? My fucking parents.
Well, yeah, because the stuff on my phone is funny, and you're boring and not interesting.
I
School
get it.
has famously been boring forever.
I get it. I do get it. As an ADHD haver, I had to force myself to sit in the front row of like lectures because I would just be on my laptop, which I also had. It wasn't even my phone. But it's like, okay, well, we're kind of being conditioned by our phones to be on our phones all the time.
Exactly what I was gonna say. Like they're all Gen Z and their fucking phones. Everyone's all the boomers are always like, oh, you gotta put down that damn phone. But we've had them since we were babies, and we have been conditioned to be addicted to them and all the bright colors and all the sensory that's.
It's like an extra limb.
Well, and how many parents were like, "Hey, baby, you're being annoying. Play games on my phone.
Don't call me baby.
Play Doodle Jump
Also,
and shut up.
I do. What's the matter, Daddy?
Hey, baby. Hey, baby, play games on your phone. Me to my wife.
Excuse me? We should point
Who's out there? I
you know,
hope.
not to be rude, you guys just didn't have the fucking literacy to do it. Like a lot of these guys are like, the kids are always on their phone. It's like, yeah, because you need your nephew to show you how to unlock it.
But legit, boomers are on their phones and iPads all the time. Like it's not a generational thing. It is a
it's because they're not going to school.
Yeah, if you had your like, if my grandma's stories were on her phone, then she would be staring at that.
She'd be gone.
The thing I wanted to say though is that like when I was younger, we weren't allowed to have our phones out at school, But guess what became a gigantic problem that necessitated needing communication at all times in the event of an emergency? At school.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, what happens when you don't have, like, if I was a parent, I'd be like, damn straight my kid's gonna have a phone at school.
Also, a lot of education happens online now.
And if I'm not on my phone in class, if you take my phone away, I'm on my phone too much, the teacher takes it away, I'm yapping in the back. I'm talking to my friends instead. I'm doodling on a piece of paper.
So I was a teacher for a very, very brief time.
You're Barbie.
Barbie?
You are Barbie. You've done every job.
I taught Marxism at the Sanrio
store. So me and Hello Kitty were coworkers.
We would take our smoke breaks together. No, I was a teacher for a very, very brief time. And the thing that you get taught as a teacher is that there's no bad students, there's only bad teachers.
Yeah.
Because your goal is to keep every kid in that class engaged.
Yeah.
And
the bad teaching, it can be a resource issue, but the result is the same. It is
it's a hard job. I'm not going to say
it is simultaneously like an information job and a performance job.
But
like you have to imagine every day you have to fucking perform in an engaging way. It's an impossible task.
That is somehow in a world where all labor is not equal, is positioned not just below doctor, not just below any kind of healthcare.
If you're a good teacher, you should go be a successful performer.
It is the lowest thing. Being a teacher is, outside of various levels of like trade work, comfortably considered in the US the lowest trade you could have.
But you know who doesn't get taught how to teach? University professors.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's true.
They only get taught the subject matter.
Because
I went to
MD
grad
and then they
school.
go.
No one taught me how to teach. Like you learn the subject matter. That's it.
Yeah.
And then they set you off in front of a classroom. And guess what? You're boring as shit.
And that is also, it's a thing at a lot of institutions that are research-based, is that faculty is not always there to teach.
No,
they're there to do
they're
research.
bad teachers.
And so there's an adversarial relationship between actually doing lecture and doing what they really are there for grant money and for furthering their own individual resume of their body of work.
Yeah.
The lecture is like a side thing.
It's especially impossible because we do not educate our educators the way they should be educated. Like,
And then they get blamed also.
And then they tend to get, not at the college level necessarily, even though still at the college level, most faculty now are adjunct faculty. They don't get paid very well. But then we give them limited resources. Then we give them low pay. Like, it's a shitty system. It's the system's fault.
But it can't be, because you can't do anything with that.
Right.
That's
so it's
how it
actually
works,
Gen Z's fault. Never mind.
Yeah, that's the crazy thing. It's like, no, but wait, but isn't that the whole point of all of it?
Your vibrator's going off
it's my enormous dildo.
What the hell?
This happened earlier.
One time I had my clippers in that bathroom, and I could have sworn when I walked by, like, Jordan had just flipped on my clippers and started using them. And I was like, I don't think that's what happened, but it might have been.
I stay strapped.
Yeah.
Our fellow loves to shave.
The reality is our fellow gets depressed and doesn't shave and then realizes the podcast is happening and panically brings it to
I do want to say as like my final thoughts on like where Gen Z is right now, because I noticed on the notes there was like, oh, Gen Z's growing up really fast. Gen Z is another one thing that I have heard a lot is like Gen Z copes with humor too much. And I feel like that ties into like the growing up too fast. It's like we have had access to every horrible thing on the planet ever since we were babies.
Yeah.
Because we've had access to the internet since then. I think
it's like cope with what else?
Yeah. We're like, well, we've been desensitized to every tragedy at this point.
I lucked out by being desensitized. Dude, I have ever talked about how I was on 4chan when I was younger? Crazy place.
You and me on /b/.
Yeah, dude, fucking insane place.
Like the I think you saying soft locked was actually like a really good way to put it. Like have the world at our fingertips, but we can't do anything with it at this point. And
it's reminding you that you can't. He has everything and you can't have it.
We all need to be more empathetic towards each other about like what we're going through online and off. Like, I just think that especially looking at Gen Z and how much shit that young people have had to go through, and thinking about the fact that older generations are like, suck it up, walk it off, like this horrible mentality that doesn't help anything.
And Gen Z and millennials who kind of went through this with Gen Z need to keep that energy, because Gen Alpha is about to start posting.
Oh, they have been.
You know what I mean?
We've seen the Gen Z versus Gen Alpha.
But that's the thing. It's
Gen
like
Alpha. They're getting. Gen Z has preemptively started going at them to kind of in like a proxy war.
It is very funny. It's like a little bit. They're like, no, I'm the. What is? It's like a. We were just talking about this, like the trauma Olympics, where they're like, no, it was. They're trying to get the word out that it was worse for them.
Yeah, I don't know.
Gen Alpha's holding a big lollipop. Like,
yeah, Gen Alpha's like they're like words.
Everything was given to you.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's like a Gen Z versus Gen Alpha thing, or if it's just like me being the youngest kid in my family versus like my nephew who's like the new youngest kid in the family.
And
but he'll go up to me and be like, did you know that Pikachu is yellow? And I'll go, I've known that since before you were born. I actually knew that. And I actually knew that his shiny is a darker yellow. And then
yeah, well, name the type of yellow.
Like,
I bet you can't.
Like, did you know that zebras are actually black with white stripes? And I go, yeah, obviously I knew that. Obviously
I had Beyblade when you were a fucking zygote. Shut up.
My nephew started like trying to turn into a Super Saiyan, and I was like, who taught you that? Where'd you learn that from? You're too young to know what that is.
Oh, wait, I guess he's gonna go. Lineage wise, he's like Goten quarter Saiyan at that point.
Yeah, I'm like, where did you get this? How did that's still on TV?
It is. There is, I think, a genetic component to being a black nerd. I think Dragon Ball, you're like born remembering the Frieza saga.
Yeah,
it's
right.
epigenetic memory.
Right. You know Piccolo's black in your blood.
Similar to Anastasia, I think my closing thoughts are like, every generation is going to have like a different way of reacting to certain events, or a different outlook on life.
Yeah, we're all forged in the fire.
But if we can all just like have a bit more grace with each other and like look at like how we've each grown up and how the world was then versus now, then we could like understand that better. And also, Jen's like, I saw when Jacob pulled up that TikTok for just a moment about the girl being like, I have to travel 2.5 hours every day. The top comment was just "Welcome to the world," and it's like, yeah, but the world doesn't have to be that.
Yeah, acknowledging a problem doesn't mean
all my family got conscripted into World War II and got exploded.
Welcome to the world.
There's a war.
Yeah, and I feel like Gen Z and like most of millennials are like trying to actively change that and change the system and try to make it not that way. But then everyone else that like grew up when they could afford a house was like, no, that's just how it works.
People are listening, and as we've said, I at the very least have and will always have the natural instinct to lean back to the propaganda I got as a kid.
Yes.
It's there. My neurons are, the foundations of them are, you work hard, buy the house, you don't bloody complain, stiff upper lip, don't bloody moan about nothing. And like, even now when I talk to my family, I like feel myself, because it's a proper northern family, and like they will just, I feel like, an older member of my family fell down the stairs and broke 2 ribs, which is, for anyone, big deal. It's especially a big deal when you're a little older, and it could have like had a longer impact. It might not heal very well. And then I called my aunt the other day. I'm like, yeah, how's that going? They were like, it's good, they could have died. And they moved on to the thing. I was like, oh, okay. That's the kind of welcome to the world mindset. It's like, well, that's how things happen. But if you share that natural instinct, chances are, if you're listening to the show, you're probably in support of universal healthcare, right? Is some unsolicited advice. Anytime you feel your instinct bracing against somebody else sharing their trauma or complaining, default back to the way people talk about healthcare, where your first instinct is always, that's not fair, you should work harder. How you always hear that, especially from boomers. And pause yourself and go, it is a bummer that Gen Xers would ride on a metal slide with glass on it and hit their head and split it. Those stupid stories they tell, that is a bummer. Now, it's not being complete, like a high percentage chance of being unhoused, But a degree of empathy will bring you peace because you're not at war with someone you're
like, well, that you should have to do X, Y, Z. It's like, why? So I can be like you fucking sad sack.
Weirdo.
Yeah, you're so angry. Why would I want that?
So that I can yell at someone else.
Yeah.
Jordan, my way of stopping that train of thought that you're talking about, where I'm like, get mad at people, is I have like a little mantra of look at the system, not the individual.
Yeah.
The individual is probably in a system that is making them act a certain way, right? So
that's why I can't, even though they're being an asshole, I can't like jump for joy in the Dollar Tree manager getting fired.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
would so much more prefer that they change their mind. That would be if I had the choice. I think a lot of people wouldn't. A lot of people would like the blood.
So now they're probably going to get bitter about Gen Z even more because they're like, they took my job.
Well, because Gen Z, they're the ones who made it go viral.
Yeah.
And so Gen Z, they made me lose my job. And it
So
wasn't
even
like John
online-
capitalism of like Dollar Tree Incorporated.
Rival of Luigi Mangione.
Yeah. Jordan, in our meeting yesterday, you'd mentioned the new season of Black Mirror.
Yes.
And
now, for people who don't know, it's like what if your phone was mental?
What if your phone? It was just like wacky, dude. And also, have you noticed we live in a society?
Looking at my hands, shaking.
It's like I do think that Black Mirror has had some heaters, but it's also had some beaters.
I said it before, I say it again. I don't think there is a show that it's one of those things where I'm just like, I watch every single I follow the same team and I watch them every single season and I wear their jersey and then I'm like, no, I hate that team. I'm like, I watch every single season of Black Mirror as soon as it comes out. I binge watch it, I rewatch old episodes, and I complain about it constantly, but there's no way to deny it's one of my favorite shows. Because what else would constitute that? Because it does include some of what I think are literally the best episodes of television ever made. And then stinkers that shouldn't be stinkers, even if it's a cringe premise, it's done so poorly.
It like doesn't make sense.
It is
like I was like beside myself. Like I was like hanging out with a friend and I'm like, I'm sorry, I have to text Jordan my thoughts really quick. Because
Should I read them?
Yeah. Well, so this would include some spoilers for episodes 1 through 3, but mainly episode 1 of the new season of Black Mirror called Common People,
which has the unfortunately terminal diagnosis of being one of those first episode of a season of Black Mirror that is awful, which they keep doing. That happens all the time for some reason.
Yeah.
This discussion includes a discussion of like a family member passing away and like questions of euthanasia and stuff like that. But it is, I will say, so absurd.
Do you need any context before you read these? I actually don't know.
I think they are this actually is a perfect experience for watching it.
Okay, great.
I think this summarizes it. I'm watching Common People. It's fuck Nick pissing me off. It's fucking pissing me off. This is the stupid shit I've ever seen in my life. Why are they making Rashida Jones do this?
I'm a big I have had a crush on Rashida Jones for most of my adult life.
9-minute break. I am so mad. This is so stupid. It's only getting stupider. Wow, this is just comedy. It doesn't even remotely succeed at what it's trying to do. Now introducing a Rivermind Fent. Oh my god, the parkour thing. I'm going to lose my mind.
Yeah.
This episode is What If Netflix Was Your Brain? No additional. That one is the worst episodes of Black Mirror are typically where the none of the lore is in there's no background gags, with a better word for them. There's no like, oh, if you know, one of my favorite episodes, everybody hated it at the time because people are stupid and I'm smart. But An Entire History of You, it's the third episode of the first season, and it came after two kind of more bombastic episodes. I'm having sex with a pig, and I'm on X Factor, but it's mental. What if your phone was a TV?
Mm-hmm.
And there's that bombastic seems the third one, but it's all about, you know, everyone has a chip in their brain. You record everything you see, and one of the teeny weeny little details of that episode is that part of the reason this guy's kind of crashing out is because his career is falling apart because he is a lawyer and they don't matter anymore because everyone records everything they see.
Right.
I didn't notice he was a lawyer till the third time I watched it because the world building serves the story as opposed to the exact opposite, which is every episode that's like, what if you got a like every time you went to the toilet?
That's like, it just feels like, okay, I think that when Black Mirror succeeds, it is like thought-provoking in some sort of novel way.
Sticks with you.
And sticks with you. And that is increasingly difficult as the landscape of technology in our lives has changed. And it runs this cautionary tale risk of like, when the technology catches up to some of the premises, they can start to like lose their sheen a little bit.
Yeah, because we know the result.
Because we know the result. And one weird thing about the later seasons of Black Mirror is that they're no longer trying to project forward into the dark spiral of technology becoming more deeply ingrained into our lives. It's almost like a commentary on the current moment.
Yeah, it should be called Bad Phone.
And then when it reveals that it knows less about the thing that it's talking about than I do, or than even the average viewer might.
It speaks volumes that the prohibitive amount of money for the dilemma that the couple in the first episode bump into is the amount of money that rich writers think poor people have.
Well, okay. So I'm just gonna full stop spoil this episode. Episode's called Common People.
It should be called What If Netflix Was Put in Your Head?
Yeah, no, because literally it feels like a fucking comedy. It felt like an SNL sketch.
Yes, it is a parody.
It like has beats that are comedy beats, but are not played for comedy. So I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
And it has two very prolific comedic actors.
Chris
That's
O'Dowd
another thing that's kind of distracting.
Right?
Chris O'Dowd, yeah.
And Rashida Jones.
Chris O'Dowd, IT Crowd.
Chris O'Dowd from The Crowd. And they're a couple that they're a little poor. You know what I mean? Like they live a normal life, but the best times they have are going to the restaurant and eating a burger.
They're a normal couple that like while the writer's room is like, what are we getting from Sweet Green? And like they're ordering the thing, and they're like, they're a normal couple that, I don't know, owns a house.
They actually like live in a beautiful home. And
like, well,
but they drive like a 1976 Volvo. And like none of it like adds up. And they're like a little dirty looking. I feel like they're like I feel like they make them look more disheveled.
They're just boho like core. They're chic.
It like doesn't yeah. So then and Rashida Jones is a teacher, so they're like, okay, what kind of jobs don't make money? Okay, teachers.
Yeah, what do we got?
And then what does Chris O'Dowd do? He works at the manual labor factory.
He works at the moving boxes and metal around.
No, literally, it's the, like making things spark with a tool.
It's like every time you see his work, it's like one guy welding, and another going like, how many wood do we need?
And then 12 guys standing a fucking round. So where does it start pissing me off? Okay, so
title sequence.
Yeah. So Rashida Jones is a teacher, and she while doing her teaching, before doing her teaching, we get a little bit of a reveal, which is it almost doesn't feel like it even needs to be a part of the episode, but fortunately for us, it is.
In case you thought it was too short.
One of Chris O'Dowd's, Mike is his character's name. One of Mike's coworkers is
sociopath.
He's a sociopath, and he's fucking around on the job.
He's not carrying a box.
By the way, Chris O'Dowd's character Mike, who works at the manual labor factory, has a job that is the embodiment of the meme "Name a job harder than this," and it's the people working at the oil
the guys
refinery.
covered in mud pulling that big thing.
Yeah, like literally, they're like, he needs to be doing good, honest work, and then a fucking Hollywood elite is like, what is? We're on season 7 of this, and who's the dude who writes all the episodes?
Charlie Brooker.
Yeah, Charlie,
who he's like a great guy talent. He is a well-off British guy. That reason he knows that Cameron fucked pigs is because he went to Oxford, Cambridge kind of environment. It's
right.
Not his fault, but he's old money.
It's like just out of touch, right? But like what blew my mind is that he wrote other episodes that weren't as bad as this, and so I'm like, were you fucking?
It makes you wonder what the actual.
because it's a writer's room.
One of the
you would
issues-
assume
No, that doesn't happen anymore.
he's
though.
writing it all himself.
Like I
He
think
writes
the
the
way.
first 2 or 3, I guess, with BHK Ali. I'm not sure.
So I think the way a lot of shows are working now, they have essentially one writer, and if that writer requests a mini room,
Right.
where the
Right.
mini room just pitches them
Demi
ideas.
was talking about this a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, like for the most part, like for example, Last of Us is written by Craig Mazin. That's it.
Mm.
You know, and he claims he doesn't have any help. Who knows if that's actually true? But like,
Here's Neil Druckmann running around at me like, what if the mushroom was different?
yeah.
Okay. So anyway, I was like beside myself during a lot of this. So
The episode is blissfully, great news, very long.
it's so long. So anyway, they needed to have this part where there's a sociopath who works at the working factory, and he kills time by watching Twitch.tv. No, just kidding. By watching TikTok Live. No, just kidding. It's a website called now. I'm going to now step aside to say we've experienced a long line of fake companies in our time. This one is the most on-the-nosedly called Dumb Dummies.
Dumb Dummies, but with an M and no B.
Yeah, like dummies. It's so dumb.
Stupid.
So it's called Dumb Dummies, and it's where people go to torture themselves for content, but to make a pittance of cash.
It is insane. It makes you wonder whether the incredibly small amount of money is a misunderstanding of the economy, or if it's just a misunderstanding of the media landscape.
It's like, I'm not saying that Twitch streamers all Twitch streamers are swimming in cash, because it is one of those situations where it's like, if you're the creme de la creme, but we know a lot of people who are like, you know, trying to cross over into doing it full time.
Yeah.
But none of them are drinking piss for $20.
It is beyond
one-time use only.
And the issue, I mean, one of the problems also, this is one of those, it's a contemporary Black Mirror episode where it's, sure, they're fudging the timeline a little bit, but it's modern. So it's not like, you know, they're not driving a weird, fancy, smooth car or a hover car. There's nothing to extrapolate from it. The show is telling us this is normal reality, but there's robo-bees. And outside of that, it's distracting because we live now.
That's the thing. It's like we live in this time.
We're alive.
This could have by spending, I don't know, 60 minutes watching streamers, you would get a better sense of, like, you could have fleshed that out in a more meaningful way. So
that's what's weird. I should point out, compliments to Charlie Brooker for a really long time. He's been a bit of an advocate of technology in a relatively positive way, and is a huge fan of video games. He used to have a show called Screen Wipe and some like associated shows where every year he'd talk about the media of the year. Funny guy. He'd present it directly, and he was insightful and like pretty foundational in like a new what I think has become the modern style of kind of fun, kind of snarky, but like artistic review stuff. This is like the in the 2000s. It's just not. It's, I guess he just aged out.
Dude, I want to
be nice.
Again, no, I'm like going to say that, like, you take a lot of shots, you're going to have some misses for sure. And so I'm not trying to make this an indictment on him or his talent, because clearly he's very talented. However, the Dumb Dummy shit is dumb as hell. It's a website where anybody can sign up and they immediately have an audience. Unrealistic. If you have an audience and a chat moving like that, you're making more than $20.
There's the total at the top of the screen. The guy has already written douchebag on his chest and is drinking piss.
Yeah, and the things that people do, and this is trigger warning for like body horror, because it's not real, but it'll be like, pull out a tooth for like $1.
And we should point out so Rashida Jones requires a surgery.
So I just wanted to set the stage for the Dumb Dummies thing. But then, so cut back to Rashida Jones teaching class, and she drops dead, basically.
She does a comical collapse in a wide shot.
And it's like, we never get a, here's where this came from. It's just, oh, surprise, Rashida Jones died, but it's because she had like a brain issue.
She falls over the same way you would if a grand piano landed on your head in a cartoon. She goes like,
yeah. And then here comes the whole episode. Look out. Here comes the plot. There's an experimental, like, they're talking to a doctor, And Mike is like, is there anything we can do? And she's like, well, if you'd that scene right there, that's the doctor. Chris O'Dowd is the shoulder. And he goes, is there anything you can do?
He's in dark hallway.
She goes, yeah, it's the least lit hospital in the world.
The show can't have this issue in general. This episode in particular has so much like student film level. It's dark because this scene is sad.
Yeah.
They never turn the lights on in their house.
It's like, and then she goes, well, if you had asked me a week ago, there wouldn't be, and then stay where Tracee Ellis Ross is right there. They say, well, if you had asked me a week ago, I wouldn't have had anything, but there might be something we can try. Enter Tracee Ellis Ross, a person who a year ago had an experimental procedure, but now is the CEO or whatever. Like she is the salesperson / only point person for this new experimental biotech company called Rivermind, where they solve your brain injury by creating a model of your brain, storing it as a backup, and then basically 3D printing that piece of your brain or whatever. They have like a hand wavy way, because technology doesn't exist, so you always have to be like, oh yeah, and we create this organic matter. That's the breakthrough.
And when they do this is where I'm, despite the initial 10 minutes just being like not very, literally just not interesting in its construction.
Sure.
And its dialogue just not being that compelling. This is where I'm like, okay.
I actually have no problem with this concept. If there was a breakthrough like this, a company would create a product out of it.
Yeah.
However, where it starts to become absurd is they do the surgery and then she immediately wakes up and they're like back to normal. Except here's the thing. Rivermind is a subscription plan.
Oh, it's like
now your brain's Netflix. Now your brain's a subscription. You have to pay so much a month, and they don't even know going into it how much it's going to be a month. Oh, actually, it's $300 a month. Well, that's a lot.
Surprise.
Yeah, $300 a month is a lot. And then
good for a brain. I'd say good.
Yeah, good for a brain. It does keep you
brain.
alive. Health insurance doesn't obviously cover this, and this thing is so new, yet doctors are like promoting it, and now Rashida Jones has subscription brain, and the way that they describe, and this is where I got mad at the TV. They describe how it works, and they said that they use the cloud to replace the part of the brain.
Yes.
And I said, they would never do that. And then I said, what happens if you go under a tunnel? Do you just fucking die? You know what I mean? Like, and so she has subscription brain, and they, and she has...
Dude, these days, jeez.
Yeah, she has subscription brain, and then they're like, we use cell towers, but they're cell towers that we own. Also, a thing that would not happen because you would not create infrastructure, because the issue is they drive into like a new neighborhood, and Rashida Jones just fucking dies again.
Yeah, but I guess just there's no other like brain death from it. She just goes to super sleep.
She goes to super sleep, but then there starts this series of the couple going back to Tracee Ellis Ross and expressing a new problem they have with the product. And every single time, like a fucking improv scene escalating its comedy, there is a new product that she's trying to sell them. And the game is, oh, you didn't know this important detail about the thing that you 100% would have found out if you were signing up for something like this.
And with a little button, the button on every exchange is, he is a more insulting name for the old one.
Yeah. So literally it's like she like goes into a new neighborhood and doesn't have service, and so she fucking dies again. And then they go, then they back up, they turn around, they take a Yui, she's back. And then they go, oh, actually only one neighborhood range. Your T-Mobile range is just actually your fucking you
gotta hit up Spectrum
Burbank
support,
or whatever.
Or your fucking Parabellum explodes.
And then they go back, and for the first time, Tracee Ellis Ross is like, oh yeah, well, we don't, that's outside of our service area, but good news, we just installed new towers that'll support that, but you have to sign up for Rivermind Plus.
Mm-hmm.
And then they were like, Rivermind Plus? And she's like, yeah, what you have is Rivermind Common.
Which terminology-wise
I get what they're doing.
Yeah, Common would be the internal name.
But that is not what something would get published as.
No, literally, it's like it's basically, oh no, you've got Rivermind broke, bitch.
Yeah.
And actually you've got, and you need to upgrade. And by the way, it's an additional $800 a month.
Yep.
And they're like, oh, we can't afford that. And then,
which now is in the realm of like a financial issue. But the initial $300 in the text, like in the way that it is produced, it seems indistinguishable to them. They're like, well, they are struggling for that $300, and then when they raise this price and they get it, they go, I'll just take some overtime.
They get it, and now the cycle continues. What's the new problem? Rashida Jones is doing ads. She starts, what if your brain did ads because you like are on an ad-based subscription? What is the message of that? Is the message that like I don't like Spotify ads? Is the message that Netflix has a lower tier subscription where you pay for ads?
I think the message is, what if your brain did ads?
Yeah, no, because it is
just
the
text.
worst. And guess why that would never happen? No advertiser would pay
Terrifying.
when Rashida Jones is having sex with her husband to go, are you having trouble getting it up? Try this ED medication. And then she like phases back in and is like, what happened? And
It's
he's like,
they're pushing their luck constantly because, again, it's a contemporary story. There's some really surreal episodes of Black Mirror where you can get away with stuff like this because it's allegory.
It's trying to ground it. And they're like, these are these salt of the earth. That's a good thing, right? These are these salt of the earth people. They're working class, blah, blah, blah.
At the box factory.
And then they're being, except for they're being tortured by a comic book villain of a corporation. And I'm like, you could actually make a much more nuanced critique of whatever you're trying to critique by grounding this a little bit more. Because the upgrade, this type of thing happens, but the upgrade isn't 2.5x.
It's more predatory.
Additionally,
than that. It's
it's
like,
more insidious. It's more predatory.
Again, it's confused because they're doing two very broad allegories. One's supposed to be towards the medical system, but the medical system is already critiquable on the way it does work. You don't have to speculate, and they never talk about the expense of the surgery. They never get into any of that stuff. If that had bankrupted them and now there's a subscription, that would make sense. But instead, again, you set this in, I don't know, like, it's a society where all the cars float. Then I'm like, okay, I get it.
It's just they keep trying to ground it in like, okay, so now they're working class and now they have to work even more to make ends meet and keep Rashida Jones alive. And then it'll be like a scene of Chris O'Dowd, his character's name is Mike.
His name's IT Crowd.
Mr. IT Crowd is staring at his calendar and it's just like all working days. And now he goes no days off.
He's done the cartoon version of shift change. Where again, let's compare. I'm like, well, what do poor people do? And he's just written overtime
overtime
for months. And you're like, I think he'd remember.
Yeah.
I think he'd know.
And guess what? Rashida Jones, oh, well, we've got to keep this game going because we're in an improv show and not a fucking dramatic episode of television.
She has to yes and it.
Yeah, and now, Rashida Jones, she's sleeping so long. Well, she's sleeping for like 16 hours. Oh, now we got to go in to talk to Tracy Ellis Ross and say, hey, Tracy Ellis Ross, well, we're sleeping so much. And it's like, oh, yeah, that's because, well, of course you're sleeping a lot because you're on Rivermind Plus. I mean, and now Rivermind Plus is actually called Rivermind Peasant or whatever.
Common fool.
Yeah. And you have to sleep because we're actually using your brain to mine Bitcoin. like that,
which cannot be more profitable than
she
brain.
doesn't say that, but like that is the allegory. She says we're using your brain to power our servers.
Which is like, okay,
and
so
like, yo, did anyone?
What's this a metaphor now?
This is like, you could take them to court if they don't like make any of this any of this information available to you. It's like commandeering your brain. All of the little pieces they're playing with, I think, could have been handled in a more nuanced and interesting way. But it's taken to such a comical extreme when the characters themselves, none of it's actually played for comedy. So it'll be a scene with Rashida Jones, who's a teacher. The reason they have to get Plus is because she starts like doing ads at school, and a kid comes to her after class and she tells him to go to like religious conversion therapy or some shit.
Which actually, when that happened, I'm like, if this system were in place, that would be the advertiser. It would be something that was about proselytizing something without needing to sell anything.
Oh yeah, before that she does a thing where it's like she's giving a presentation and she starts doing a thing about cheese nugs. Like to her whole class.
But that would work, but you can't target like that.
It's poorly thought out because why would they make it so that she doesn't have knowledge of the ads that she's running? Because it makes it it makes the ads ineffective because now she can't answer for anything that she just said.
Like every time you see a commercial on TV, it ends and it goes, "What just happened?"
No, literally.
What was that ad?
To your point, this is so similar to something in Futurama, which is a comedy show.
Yeah.
From 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Where you get ads in your dreams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then also there was a Charlie Brooker show called Nathan Barley. That he wrote with someone else.
Oh, yeah.
And they talk about stuff like this in Nathan Barley, which is from 2006 or something, 2008. It's like from 20 years ago as well. Like this. And so that's a comedy show as well.
And so she's like about to lose her job because she can't stop doing ads inappropriately.
You keep talking about the Manscaped balls attacker.
And then a thing that like is like it's basically that. And this isn't information that the average person doesn't have, but I'm like, no advertiser would pay for an audience of one.
Like
doesn't make sense. It's an impressions business, baby. Like
this must be costing more than a Super Bowl ad.
Yeah. Like what do you mean? Like it's extremely targeted, but like very poor. It basically it's not well thought out.
People don't like. Well, actually, an episode everyone loves is the original USS Callister.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I'd say that's one of the strongest Black Mirror episodes in terms of episodes that are kind of hyper real. And the technology in that episode is. The game itself is a little out of touch. It wouldn't really work like that. It wouldn't be that successful. It's essentially just like a Star Trek simulator, but it's the most popular game on Earth. You put a little dot on your brain and you go, I'm Star Trek. But it has a utility.
It reminded me of episode 3.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, I have something else to say, but yeah.
There is no, the allegory in that episode isn't about the mechanics of the world, right? That all serves a third dimension that is actually the interesting part. Is kind of a surprise, which is it's actually about an abusive dynamic. You can see it as a relationship, you can see it as a boss, it's anything. But a soy nice guy who, when given the opportunity, is a very bad guy. That Jesse Plemons plays excellently in that episode. But if the episode was about how this video game made people crazy, which it could, because it is like a life simulator. The obvious way to go would be that. Then it would be so dumb because those games don't exist, won't exist, couldn't be allowed, and wouldn't be fun. It doesn't make, and they have he has like a cloning technology.
It's like the reason they do this is because it's written in the script and not. There's like the motivations like start to not make any sense.
Yeah,
and so it just jumps the shark so early, and nothing feels believable. So then, and it's about these like working class people being crunched by the medical system.
Great base for a premise. Of course,
it's
that's
like
a good
it's a
story
real
to tell.
problem, and I'm like, why does this feel like a fucking joke?
Yeah.
Like it continues to escalate, and I'm like, I can't believe it. I cannot believe we're still escalating this. Because then they're like, oh well, now you need watch this ad, and then they cut a fucking drug commercial for Rivermind Lux, where a woman literally says, and I texted it to Jordan. Ever since my fatal liposuction procedure, is how the commercial introduced it. And
now it's like, okay, so what do we do? Is this parody world or
it's like literally a parody? Because then they do the other thing where it's like, okay, Lux, well, yeah, you were on Plus, but now it's lesser. And so I said, now premium is common and Lux is premium.
Dude, that's like having Netflix when you think about it.
Oh yeah, and so then
also sorry, just for a note, I'm getting a little tired of Black Mirror front porching the fact that it's on Netflix now.
Yeah,
I'd be like, we're on Netflix, but like, here's a critique of it. I'm like, okay,
we're not afraid.
You're still doing it.
Yeah,
I have no issue with it, but don't stop pretending.
I feel like this is all a good explanation of why we need diversity in writing rooms and stuff like that, because of the fact that people run out of ideas. He was doing similar ideas 20 years ago. Other people were doing these ideas 20 years ago.
And I don't know the composition of because there are a lot of contributors to it, and I don't know the composition of the team or how they collaborate. But at the very least, it's like there's either no one in the room or text thread contributing with the experience or impact to contribute those ideas, or there are, and those ideas are not being considered and implemented because someone should have said all the things we're saying.
Well, I just imagine like him being like, wouldn't it be crazy if our healthcare system nickel and dimed you like this? And it's like, it does. What are you talking about?
It's way faster. It's much more efficient.
More
and
insidious.
Yeah.
Almost.
The Pit actually.
Oh, I want to watch The Pit.
The Pit shows how you should not run medicine as a business.
Yeah, it just felt like this conflation of a bunch of different things. Like tech companies are crazy and also like healthcare, but like what if together and then Netflix is like a subscription service. So like
and ads these days, you know what I mean?
And never giving any thought to like why and like what are these things saying? Because you can take those how the actual healthcare system crunches like lower middle class and working class people, regular everyday people, crunches them and you're like one accident away from like horrible medical debt in America. And like all that stuff is valid, and it just feels like instead we have like a little cartoon.
Yeah, which is we don't need like a analog for. Whoa, that was actually sick. Damn, what the hell?
Oh, okay. Let me wrap this up though. So then it continues to escalate. How far can it escalate? Well, before this happened, I sent Jordan a thing that said now introducing Rivermind Fint, which is basically what they do. I sent that before it happened in the episode. There's now a pleasure meter where you can max your pleasure out and you fucking go on some euphoric like psychedelic trip.
And don't know what this is a metaphor, by the way, for. We've just kind of gone. Now it's for like, what if you watch too much Netflix?
Well, I think it's like self-medicating. And now it's like, because I said, oh, okay, they're the new Sackler family, right? This is the opioid crisis, but on an app. And I'm like, okay, but that's like an interesting thing to talk about. And turning it into this little nonsense is not making the critique. It's not making any critique. It's kind of like, wouldn't it be crazy if?
One thing that might have maybe done something for this is if it wasn't set in the US, because that the pharmaceutical industry and the medical industry and the medical system as established has been around our entire lifetimes, and so it's distracting because it begs the question: so does this universe not have it? Because there's no conversation. They kind of briefly have a touch, and they're like, yeah, your insurance is covering it. Your insurance is covering it? What? Wait, what? And then it's moved past it, as opposed to just like, you could be, like the NHS is very, very consistently been eroded over my lifetime. And for this to then come in and be like, yep, for £200 a month, you can get this service. I think a lot of people in the UK would be like, okay, or I guess. It's like, more money than none, but we've been used to that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I bet you're all forgetting about Dumb Dummies, the streaming website that the Chekhov streaming website that was introduced at the beginning of the episode.
Speaking of insulting allegories.
Mike has been worn to the bone working for a nickel a day, I guess, because his only option now is to piss in a jar and drink it for $20
and set his hair on fire or whatever.
And he wears a Batman mask and like bunny ears. And
which he will take off 4 cents on the dime.
That was crazy to me. He's like, so his whole thing is he's doing these things. He sticks a finger up his butt, whatever. Or no, he pulls out a tooth, sticks a finger up his butt, drinks piss. Those are like the 3 things that he does for the amounts of money laughably low. $20. He ends up taking his mask off for like, what is it, like $90 or like $100 or something?
Which is a lot of money in the fiction of this universe.
In my mind, I go, that doesn't pay for 1/17 of Rivermind Lux, and you can only do that one time.
Your entire mouth gets you some of a month. It doesn't. It literally. It's treating his like because at this point He ends up getting fired because that's
He
revealed.
gets fired because someone pays him a nickel to take off his mask, and he's like, "Okay, I need money."
And he knows one of his coworkers watches this anyway.
And he knows
I
one of
guess
his
he
coworkers
watches
is
every channel.
addicted. Yeah, because that doesn't. Yeah.
But I don't think.
Hey, there's a new guy drinking piss. Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, they're all only doing the same thing.
Dude. But VOD will probably cover
And
you
he's
on that
not
one.
charismatic, so it's like doesn't make sense why there'd be an audience of like it's like Live Leak but live.
Well, the uncomfortable thing is, I mean, if we're taking everything here as an analog for the real world, then this isn't Twitch, is it? It's sex work.
Yeah,
That is the allegory.
Exactly.
And
yeah.
it is presented as absolutely, unquestionably unethical. It is presented as pure exploitation. No one there enjoys what they do or finds value in it. It literally has the
and it's
most
like more cam girl, and OnlyFans does have that, but yeah, it's like the cam.
It's just the like again being out of touch. This is where these computers are going these days. You put a photo of yourself on Facebook. Next, you'll be pulling your tooth out on camera.
And on Nathan Barley from 2005, there was a website where you could bet on which person would lose a tooth first after being hit in the head.
Holy shit,
face.
dude. This is like that supercut of Adam Scott saying, looking for a number, and when he's improvising or just saying a conversation, he always says 19.
Oh.
He goes, I think I must have been like 19. And he's like, I probably watched that movie 19 times.
Yeah.
It's like there's a super cut of those.
Yeah.
That's like Charlie Booker with losing a tooth.
That was a banger comedy number in the 2010s. That was basically as good as it got, 19.
It's like shaped like a thing, and you're supposed to go, oh, allegory. But then none of the parameters are right.
Yeah.
So it's like, I am still not convinced why anyone would do this because it pays so poorly.
Yeah.
And it is more demeaning and more difficult and irreversible than working at the working factory.
Yeah.
Which
we really cannot emphasize what a bad job they do of communicating. Like, he pretty much triples his shift load, and it is still.
And he's willing to do the take out a tooth for $10.
And he comes back from this shift that, and this is before the price gets raised a second time. So it's locked at this price.
They keep raising the price to absurd comedic level. They may as well be like, it's $1 million a day. You know what I mean?
The thing is if this was a medical industry analog, then it would be, yes, we've raised it to $1,200 a month, but you can actually pay $100 a month with a 200% interest. It's way more insidious than just give it to us or I'll kill you with a computer.
Well, every time they said the price, she would be like, it's going to be $800 in addition to what you're already playing. And I'm like, what, $800 alone would have saved you some words on the script and be easier to understand? Because now I'm going, wait, so now they're paying $1,100. You know, it's like, okay, now.
It goes from, okay, well, I can see them affording this, and then escalates to, okay, well, now I see why it's pushing their budget.
Unaffordable, yeah.
And then escalates to the point where none of the options could be affordable, and she, dies if she sounds next to the microwave or something. But then
and completely cold, unempathetic.
It replaces it with nothing.
Like Tracy Ellis Ross is like very matter of fact and cold to the fact that she keeps being like, well, obviously you're now on the stupid little baby version.
Yeah. It is that tonal issue where it's like, what's
it is
the
$1
parody?
million more, but where it's like you, even as a salesperson, and she says she got the procedure as well. In my mind, I'm like, she sold her soul to even continue like having permanent care, because how could anyone pay for it? It starts to get to the point where how could anyone pay for this? How could a company sustain itself on this business model?
Logistically, cynically wouldn't work.
It just doesn't work.
It would have been better if they had framed it as an MLM.
Yeah, or
you have to get other people to sign up in order to keep your brand.
Yeah, and that would be closer something that has
would,
not yet evolved.
Connect some dots of like why certain character motivations are what they are, but at the end of the day, it just adds all of these moving pieces, and like none of them are harmonious.
Yeah,
and then I was upset with myself because I looked over to my friend, and it said 1 year later, and I said, spoiler alert for episode 1. I said, he's going to kill her.
He has to.
And then
because it's a student film script and it has to end with a gunshot and fade to black.
No, literally.
And we're not kidding. How does he do it?
I could not believe. My friend was like, hey, can you mute it? This is gonna like make me cry. And because it was like overly sad. He's like,
it's very sentimental.
He's like, I worked on the railroad all the live long day, and now I've managed to afford 15 minutes of Lux after the last year or whatever. And so I'm gonna turn your serenity levels up to max so you can be at peace before I pull the plug, metaphorically, because that's like what's happening. But there's no plugs because it's wireless, because like your computer and your phone.
Wait, what the hell?
But anyway, so she's like super serene. She basically gives him permission to kill her, which in my mind, I'm like, if your subscription runs out, isn't she basically dead anyway?
Yeah.
Anyway, but
I was like, one thing I did like is the ambiguity of like, okay, well, now he's put her in a most serene place. Now she's saying it's okay to kill her, and it's like, okay.
I got that. That was definitely emotional. And then they throw it all away because she gets on the bed and you don't know what he's gonna do.
She's like, do it while I'm not here.
Do it while I'm not here. One last I love you kiss. And then she does an ad. I could not believe it.
It was kind of hilarious. Like, it's hilarious.
It was like, wow, this is comedy. I was like, there is no universe where you cut this emotional moment with such a jarring comedic.
The score, the framing, the lighting is screaming at you that it's sentimental.
Yeah.
It's grabbing you by the wrist and being like,
I
you're
misdirected
sad.
you. But it's like, and that's, but we did the comedy, because comedy is when you misdirect. But because the whole thing, you were in this like Twilight Zone of, is this a joke or not? Because none of these problems in real lives are a joke. And you're Mr. Hollywood on season 7 of your Hollywood show trying to be like, what are poor people like? So it's like that kind of message doesn't like land.
But the way he does it.
Dude, he in the most graceful way possible. He suffocates her with a pillow.
It is.
Could not believe it.
It is I was like, it was that, or
That's what I want to do when I get an ad on Netflix. I wish I could set it up.
it literally felt like, because I was it was gonna be that, or when she's serene, he has a double-barreled shotgun.
I thought so too.
Like,
I literally thought,
I loved you.
there's a scene where Rashida Jones is in the foreground and he's like in the background, and she looks away and super serene. I'm like, if he shoots her in the head right now, it would have been better than what actually happened.
The fact that he didn't, I was like, oh, are you? So she's not dying. Oh,
you
found the more weird,
I couldn't believe it. Like, my friend was like, hey, I was like, I'm gonna watch it. You just close your eyes and I'll mute it. So I just read the captions, and I was like, actually, do you want to see this? Because this is not nearly as sad as you thought it was gonna be. It's actually absurd.
And then it kind of just hangs around for a while, and he's like, yeah, I've got to sell me baby crib because I'm so sad. And now I'm going to go do Dumb Dummies look dead in the camera, and it's employed. I'm going to do it.
Oh, yeah. There's an intro line where he's missing a tooth, by the way. So he's done that.
And
then Rashida Jones,
in case he did look funny enough.
Yeah. Rashida Jones goes, I thought you weren't going to do any more tooth stuff.
Which, to be fair, in a year, he hasn't done a lot of it.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, can you only do one of each of these things one time? Okay.
Well, there's a subscription where they replace your teeth.
The other episodes I also got mad at, mostly about how characters behaved.
Yeah.
Like episode 2, the main girl that it's following is an asshole all the time for no reason. Yeah.
And I enjoyed a lot of that episode.
I know.
But it's got the symptom that much of
it's got an interesting premise too. And I think that the ending, it should have ended sooner than it did. That last scene was not needed. And then the trope when someone's waking up from a coma and they go, "Who are you?"
Yeah.
And that's like not what would happen.
Yeah.
Like
they'd be like,
yeah, it's like essentially what happens is I go, actually, Sad Boys doesn't have a Z. And you'd be like, no, it does.
It does.
And I'd be like, no, it's actually never had a Z. No, Jordan, you fucking dumb donkey. I'm never gonna. It's never had a Z, and I'm gonna kill you for saying it did.
I wonder. The one thing they did do that sounds cool, and I didn't learn this till Chrissy told me, but there are 2 versions of the episode that people are randomly served. One where the things are different, and one where it isn't.
That's cool.
That's great. It's an episode about gaslighting, essentially.
Yeah.
But again, it does the classic Black Mirror thing of taking the allegory to its understandable conclusion and then going like, okay, but also Master Chief is there and he has the powers of Superman. And it's like this isn't about anything.
It's like you're on a road trip and your audiobook has ended and now your child is telling you about a dream he had.
My favorite colors on my truck. And you're like, all right.
And then episode 3 is so funny, and it shouldn't be, because the premise is Issa Rae is in this like 1940s like Casablanca-esque black and white film because they created technology where she can enter that world and act against the actors from the time.
It's one of like 5 episodes since San Junipero where they're like, you like this? This is what you like? You like when they go in, it's the best?
The other actor that she's playing against the entire time is in transatlantic old-timey accent. She's like, well, I can never imagine that. And then Issa Rae's like, damn, this is crazy. And she's like, I love the way that you speak. You use such interesting words.
What? This is nuts.
And Issa Rae's like, I'm Dr. Alex. And then she's like, Dr. Alex, you really do know. It's like,
what a way with words.
What a way with words, Dr. Alex.
And then there's Give Us a BAFTA, Please. That's an okay episode.
I haven't, so I've only seen up to 3.
Okay. Paul Giamatti has a Give Me a BAFTA Please episode where it is just like, it's just San Junipero. But it's San Junipero except not gay, and it's somehow very boring, but kind of interesting. That one actually looks fantastic. That one is just visually very compelling.
Yeah. 2 things about episode 3. Whenever they have one of these stories about like a company that has invented a new technology, like there's no way that this Issa Rae is, her name's like Montana Friday or something, and she's presented as an A-list actor alongside like Ryan Gosling, Ryan Reynolds, whatever.
Already tricky always to watch shows about shows and movies.
Exactly. But they put her in a situation where she could die. And in what universe would the agent look, would they not have to disclose and like be like, oh, this technology is actually like super unproven, and if you spill coffee on the machine, we'll kill Tom Cruise. You know what I mean?
That's true, because even there's the episode with Kurt Russell's son, something else Russell. He is in little birdie. Kurt 2.0 is in an episode where like a kind of Japanese auteur developer, I guess the closest parallel I can think of is Hideo Kojima, just because he's like innovator guy and does weird projects. But
Wyatt Russell,
who I like and stuff. He's very good in it. He's in it's a VR, but it's the little thing you put on your head. Enough putting a little bead on your head. We get it. If that's a computer. What if you had a freckle that was crazy?
Issa Rae also has a bean on her head when she goes. She goes. Now I'm in the movie.
Bean button is present a lot in that season, but he goes into basically like a horror movie pre-alpha or horror game pre-alpha, and they put him in like a scary cabin in the woods, and they test all this stuff, and then spoiler alert again. You guys need to watch Black Mirror. Don't. And it's revealed like he dies in it, and then it's revealed that the entire thing was just like the synaptic response his brain was happening in the like half a second it immediately killed him. He puts it on, it just kills him, but he has this whole experience, and that's why it's full of like, I don't know, like allusions to like that spider looks like my dad, but it's different.
Oh, that's cool.
It's a good episode, and it is pretty compelling, and I do recommend it. Spoilers. Spoiler, they did the easy ending of the guy dying. You knew they were going to. He falls on a pillow and it suffocates him. Something like that. You know, it's all those
I was going to say, did they literally do the pillow again?
There's a gunshot from behind. It cuts to black. It's one of those, but he is not a famous celebrity that brings in millions of dollars for people. They would let him die. They wouldn't do it with like real Wyatt Russell.
It's like there's so many checks and balances to even the smallest types of productions where Issa Rae got a package that had the scripts in it and also a USB stick that fell out and she never looked at. And they're like, you didn't look at the USB stick? Oh God, you didn't look at the USB stick.
Fuck.
I'm like, Issa Rae in the conceit of this story has people that are communicating with the studio, they would have talked about this. None of this stuff would be revealed at the 11th hour.
The show has there's a ton of it in the Paul Giamatti episode.
I'm so
also,
sorry, yeah.
Where it's like, oh, whoops, I dropped the credit card or whatever. Oh no, the little piece of paper saying, look out, the phone's mental, fell in the side of the couch.
Oh no, she doesn't know she's in a Black Mirror episode.
It's like, it's a metaphor for dropping a USB stick?
When their systems turn off I'm sorry, this is the last thing. Their systems turn off in the episode 3, and Issa Rae, which is a thing I, predicted from the beginning. Okay, things are going to go wrong. She's going to get trapped in it because what else could they possibly do with this? They know and acknowledge that time is passing for her. And when everything comes back, Awkwafina is playing the coordinator person. She is so cold and unempathetic to the fact that they just trapped Issa Rae inside of Black and White World for 2 weeks, where they're like, all right, next line, chip, chop, chip. And it's like, what do you mean next line? Acknowledge that it's been 2 weeks for me. I'm now having to come back to terms that I'm even doing a movie.
It's like they're making the world so cynical as to make cynical people imagine a more cynical world, forgetting that for most people saying yeah, it would be really sad if you had to have a subscription for your medical system. And then not going, but what if also evil OnlyFans?
Thank you for joining us. Thanks for being along for the ride. Ooh, the train's entering the station, and we end every episode of Sad Boys with a particular phrase.
Steam train. Oh no, Jacob's
we
on
end
the
every
tracks.
episode of Sad Boys by saying steam train.
We love you
and steam train. We're sorry.
Bye.
Boom. Oh no, crash. On Nights Tonight, today, right now, we keep talking about the Gen Z millennial culture war. We watch a bunch of cringe compilations. We talk about our past experiences, and just have a proper fun time. We have a proper fun time.
Head on over to patreon.com/sadboys/slash you geezer. Get it, go.
Gucci girl, Gucci girl, how you doing? How you moving, girl? Moving, girl, how's your day looking? That future girl, yeah, we on now. Take my money, go away, all you want it. Girl, too rich for me.